Hello and welcome to the Geeks Review. I'm Joshua.
And I'm Royce. Today we're reviewing the 2019 Oscar winner for Best Picture, South Korean black comedy film Parasite, directed by Bong Joon-ho. It's out on DVD now, and a lot of people have been wondering, what exactly is this film? A lot of people think this is a horror, and in some ways it is a horror of the realities of modern life, and this story, while set in Korea and spoken in Korean, is so universal and relevant to life in Australia, Europe, America, wherever you live. The plot centres on the Kim family, who live in a basement dwelling in Seoul, I believe it is, struggling to make ends meet when their college-aged son is offered by his friend to tutor the high school daughter of a wealthy family, the Parks. When he learns the Parks need an art tutor for their son, he volunteers his sister, posing as his cousin, to work for them, reaping these massive financial benefits and then making plans to get their entire family in on the action, becoming in sense parasites to the wealthy Park family's gullibility. But the title runs much deeper than that, and I hesitate to say too much about this film. There are twists and turns. It's wildly unpredictable and funny, at times tense, straight up horrifying, and sometimes sad. I think there's a perfect balance to it. This is a Korean language film. It's subtitled in English. The film is rated MA for strong violence, but it's not overly graphic or intense.
No. It's quite light-hearted in all of its sense.
In places, at its core, it's a dark comedy. And it plays to that really well. But when it plays but it'll quickly shift gears and become very suspenseful, which is beautiful.
I was laughing really hard watching this film.
Yeah.
Especially the opening 40 minutes. I had to take a break, and I was wondering, where is this going to go?
Yep.
And incredibly tense and, like I said, horrifying moments that had me laughing for different reasons. And we don't want to go into spoilers too much. We recommend you go watch it. We'll record this. We'll give our review here, and then we'll do a perhaps spoiler-filled section for later on for online viewing, so you can track that down. On my YouTube channel, that's Royce Pentaghast. So Josh, what did you think of this film going in? What were your expectations?
I was thinking this was going to be a horror film. I was heart fright, and then when I realized this is a beautifully black comedy, I enjoyed it full embrace. It, from the get-go, I'm looking at this, I'm going, okay, what is this thing about water bugs, fumigation? Was it something in the bugs or something? Trying to unravel the horror element. And then when I finally realized, they're leeching off the Parks family, the Kims, it becomes funnier as they slowly make these creative ways to get the driver fired, to have the maid fired, and it just, watching them actors as characters act, pretend and rehearse these moments for later in the film is just glorious. And naturally seeing how far can you carry a lie like this. I love international films because they're not constricted with things like Hollywood, because you look at Hollywood and sometimes a film will be beat for beat the same, or can immensely be predictable. And here I was not left wanting.
So it really hit every button for you for what makes a great film.
Every button for me. It was like watching, I hate using this term because I'm a big Tarantino fan, and I find a lot of his films to be not just, switch off violent fests, but black comedies in their own right. This is Tarantino done better.
Oh, really? Tarantino?
Yeah,
Tarantino.
I hate saying that because I could compare this to things like Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, and even Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Movies that really have that humorous aspect but rely on the downtrodden path. Here, the Kims are more relatable because they're not this unique, individualized character. The only one unique is Mrs. Kim being a Olympian shot putter.
Oh, was she? Wow.
That's what I assume the medal was for.
I missed that detail. There is so much detail in
There's
this
a lot
film.
going on, and there's so much to take in.
We went in not knowing what this film was about whatsoever. I mean, we've kind of given you an idea of what the plot is.
Yeah.
So if you choose to watch this, I recommend you do. You know more about this film than we did. And there is so many layers to this.
Absolutely.
And so much thought put into it, reading the behind the scenes. There's like so much thought. You mentioned Tarantino. Apparently, Alfred Hitchcock was a strong influence upon this film. There's references to Hitchcock throughout.
There's very Hitchcockian scenes in there.
I'm also reminded because it's almost like a heist film in places. And I was reminded, not so much, what was sort of Ocean's 11, like the newer one with George Clooney, which is now 20 years old at this point. But also, there's a film that the director did called Logan Lucky a few years ago, which is a more sort of down-to-earth heist film. And that's pure sort of, joy, those films. And this one, like I said, there is deeper meaning to it. But there's parts of that reminded me, and it's like, this is so strong. I have no idea what's going to happen next. And was completely blindsided at every plot development. I'm like, has this happened? What does this mean? Oh, okay, that's this. Oh, it's gone this direction.
That is a strange left turn that the plot is taking. Where are we going with this?
Yeah.
Is this actually a snuff film? Oh, it's not. Oh, that explains that moment. Interesting.
It is so crazy. And like I said, this story is so universal. As I was watching it, I was thinking about how some idiot is probably going to try and remake this for an American audience. English.
Absolutely.
I guess the most prominent South Korean film in recent years has been Old Boy, which I haven't seen. But it was remade a few years ago pretty badly by Spike Lee, I believe. Malcolm X and Black Klansman with Josh Brolin. And it's essentially the same plot, but it's changed and it's not done as well. This was a really intense, sort of crime, revenge, mystery film with incredible, fight scenes and martial arts and all that stuff.
Not a lot of film translates well for an international audience when you try to westernize it, let's be honest.
But this, like I said, it is so universal that you could. There's a few little things which are unique to Korea. You could do it, but I don't think you should.
No.
And they should leave this alone. This was apparently envisaged as well as a play. But when when Bong was writing it, he was actually describing it in terms of camera angles and movements. Like even the first shot, he was like, we had the camera move. Oh, this is meant to be a film, not a play. It could work as a play. It
could, but the shots that they use for it are very intimate, and you are up close with the characters. You are almost feeling like you're sitting next to them or in front of them.
Yeah. There's so much to this film. Like I'm thinking back now to certain scenes where there's like a dinner scene, and I'm thinking this is going to go this way. It's going to turn. But no, then it takes a completely different turn.
Yeah.
And completely blindsided by that.
I think I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of moments here that blindsided me. I'm like, whoa, hello.
Yeah, I definitely recommend this to anyone who has an interest in film.
Full-hearted recommendation. It is a beautiful international film.
Yeah, and definitely deserving, I think, of the best
picture for a foreign film.
Oh.
For a foreign film to win Best Picture.
That's crazy.
It's a first.
Yeah, and there's so many other films that have come out this year. Marriage Story, Uncut Gems, Jojo Rabbit we haven't seen just yet, but we've got a review later in this episode if all goes well. And
fingers crossed.
1917, so many good films or films we've been told are good, and I'm just looking at this going, well, this is the best picture. I can see why this is.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you go sit down and you watch a performance that's Oscar winning, and you go like, well, I don't see it. Am I missing something here? Was it just bad
like how
selection for that?
Suicide Squad won Best Makeup a couple of years ago when Star Trek Beyond was clearly the superior product.
Yeah, it's leagues ahead, this film.
Absolutely.
Parasite. And like I said, that title has so many different meanings. You thought this was going to be like an infestation. You must have been thinking then, if this is an infestation film about killer bugs or something, how did this win Best Picture? You must have been thinking like that at some point.
I was sitting there going, where the hell is this going?
Yeah.
Because it's doing such a great job trying to set up a possible plague scenario with the water bugs, and then, nope. It's about a family who are down on their luck, and that's very relatable.
Oh, yeah, it really is. It's the cinematography, the lighting. I noticed with the lighting, traditionally green lighting is used in settings to convey a sense of unease or like sort of a gross atmosphere. The Matrix is a prime example of this. In the real world, I say with air quotes, where Neo, or Keanu Reeves' character, apparently lives, it's all tinted green, and it's this really gross, uncomfortable feeling. And the real world is more saturated in oranges. And same with this, there's a moment where it's terrifying, this moment, and I'm like, what is going to happen? What's behind this corner? Green lights, literally green tinged fluorescent lights. And then you get to this moment where it reveals, and it's all sort of warm and cozy. The tone of the scene changes, and the green seeps back in very subtly, and it's like...
I remember that, and yes.
Yeah, it's so... We're describing a visual medium.
Very hard to describe.
It's really well done, and I noticed things like that. And I was sort of caught off guard by the ending, but it makes sense.
It does.
Oh, I should say the climax as well. The climax as opposed to the ending. The climax is bonkers. So what we can really say about this, it's not going too much into spoilers. This is a universal tale. It's told, and the humour works through the subtitles, through the language barrier. It doesn't matter. It definitely doesn't need to be remade as an American film.
No.
Give it a watch if you like film, if you want something that's completely different.
Something not quite fresh, but refreshing to watch.
Yeah, it does it in an interesting way. Like I said, it's completely unpredictable, and I mean, you might have seen all these things before, but you know, that's that. It's really fantastic. We're going to delve into spoilers now. It's on my YouTube channel, Royce Pentaghast. That's RoycePentagast. On YouTube, we're going to do a full spoiler-filled review. Just me for the rest of the episode. Josh and hopefully Ben will be back next week to review Taika Waititi's Jojo Rabbit. For the rest of the episode, I wanted to review and give an overview of a new series that came to Foxtel Showcase this week, HBO's Westworld. Created by husband and wife writer team Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy, Jonathan being the brother of director Christopher Nolan, having co-written some of his films like The Dark Knight and Interstellar. The series is based upon a 1973 sci-fi western starring James Brolin and Yul Brynner, directed by Michael Crichton, a prolific author perhaps best known for his novel and its adaptation, Jurassic Park. Much like that dinosaur-themed romp, Westworld is set in a futuristic theme park based on the Old West, populated by lifelike androids, where guests can live out their Wild West fantasies and do to the robots what they please. Only something goes wrong and the robots turn, leaving a lone survivor to escape the murderous gunslinger played by Brenner. The series takes cue from that, but goes much, much deeper. Starring Anthony Hopkins, Ed Harris, Evan Rachel Wood, Thandie Newton, Jeffrey Wright, Tessa Thompson, and new for Series 3, Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad. The series delved into the nature of humanity and reality, nature and nurture, explored by the human guests at the park and the realistic android hosts. I'm going to give a brief overview of the series with mild spoilers for the general actions of the plot, because the plot of the film this is based upon is quite blatant. But the series is a tangle of different plot threads, greater agendas and more, that a single discussion couldn't possibly touch upon every aspect, nor could a single viewing. The show plays with our perception of reality, much like how the characters themselves struggle with that, and while there are some massive what the hell moments throughout, it does well to explain them so that even if you're not paying 100% attention or miss details, you still get the bigger picture while there's other details to dig into. Series 1 focused on the stories of the humans and the robots. Westworld park creator Ford, played by Anthony Hopkins, is living in resentment from his corporate overlords and is planning some massive new narrative expansion within the park. Android Dolores, Evan Rachel Wood, finds herself stuck in a loop as a rancher's daughter, welcoming new guests to the park and introducing them to a world of opportunity, at the cost of her own life, her family's, and her dignity, only to be reset the next morning and go through it all again. Fellow android, the brothel Madame Maeve, Thandie Newton, finds herself haunted by visions of futuristic ghosts, coming to realise the true nature of her reality, that she is an android and beginning to see the cracks, the behind the scenes, the technicians that keep the park running, the androids operating, and that her bad dreams of a daughter she seemingly never had might be an old piece of programming slipping through. Meanwhile, the human guest, known only as the Man in Black, Ed Harris, has come to the park having spent years of vacations uncovering its secrets, to track down a story he believes is hidden deep within the park's narrative. The series shows these characters breaking from their loops, exploring how humans, like programs or robots, can fall into a rut and become predictable, asking if there truly is such a thing as free will. Initially, the most interesting stories I find happen within the park itself, but there's a lot of behind-the-scenes drama. Much like a stage show or video game, there's a backstage crew constructing the plots for guests to partake in, and characters and their costumes that strive to achieve believability.
There's a bit of corporate jargon here and there that may bore or turn away the casual viewer just looking for Old West adventures, but it does serve a higher purpose within the narrative of the series that I kind of appreciate how many layers there are to it. But I could easily say it's just a bunch of pretentious nonsense added to a story that sort of boils down to don't mess with nature/technology. The robots do turn, eventually. Series 2, released in 2018, explores the downfall of the humans within the park as the hosts fight back. Dolores leads a charge, literally fighting for freedom and equality within a hostile world where her kind, the androids, are built purely to serve humans' wants. There's some interesting parallels to real life, especially the Me Too movement, which is a little too raw and complicated to get into on the radio, that do hold special relevance to some of the actors playing characters in this series. But as a whole, Series 2 really goes further into the nature of reality and humanity, as humans strive to become immortal like the robots, while the robots seek humanity for immortality and the right to decide their own fate. It plays with science fiction concepts too, like artificial intelligence and reprogramming, and has ties to popular video games like Bioshock, a game that also delved into the nature of reality and free choice, and of course the Western-themed Red Dead Redemption and its sequel. To get back to basics, Westworld is a fun, challenging series, but with moments of unpleasantness thrown in. The usual HBO ultra-violence, sex and nudity. But it is rewarding for those wanting to dig into deeper mysteries and unravel this fascinating future sci-fi world. It's definitely the concept of an evil future theme park done right, and very differently to Jurassic Park. The entire Series 1 and 2 is available on DVD, Blu-ray, and available to stream on Foxtel, with occasional marathons running on Showcase. It's definitely a show that needs to be watched from the very beginning. You can't just drop in whenever. I recommend it completely over other recent big HBO shows like Game of Thrones, even before that series completely went to the dogs. The acting is fantastic, the characters are great, the music is phenomenal, comprising of original compositions or orchestral or piano renditions of rock or pop classics, like the Rolling Stones' Paint It Black or Amy Winehouse's Back to Black. To touch on Series 3's premiere briefly, it's set in the future, the year 2058, that's established, and it's set a few months after the robotic uprising in Westworld and the other Android theme parks. Yes, there are other Android theme parks, I didn't get into them. You really need to watch to get a taste of them, and there's some really cool ones and other cool concepts explored. Dolores is continuing her campaign for Android supremacy in the real world, and has crossed paths with a man called Caleb, played by Aaron Paul, who's struggling with PTSD in a future world that's as alien to him as it is to us, the viewers. There's promise to return to the show's titular setting, and a lot more adventures in the other parks yet to come. In short, Westworld isn't a show just about robot cowboys, but a psychological and philosophical thriller, packed full of story, characters, great performance and music, and so much more. Give it a watch if it sounds interesting. That's the show for today. We'll be back next week with a review of Jojo Rabbit and perhaps an exploration of Taika Waititi's other films. Don't forget our show and extra content not heard on the radio, such as a more in-depth review of the film Parasite with Josh, can be found on my YouTube channel, Royce Pentaghast. That's RoycePentaghast. This has been the Geeks Review, and we'll see you next time.